Could you imagine if Tony Stark became the Sorcerer Supreme instead of Doctor Strange? This would mean that Iron Man would be a master of the mystic arts. Now what would that mean for the MCU? Will Tony still create his suits of armor? How will that change his fate in Endgame? Well, it's time to jump into the what if machine and see what would happen if Tony Stark was the Sorcerer Supreme. Okay, so Tony Stark as the Sorcerer Supreme. What would that even look like? Well, let's reinvent Iron Man's whole origin story. Tony's story will start the same as in 2008's Iron Man. However, everything will change once he's captured by the 10 Rings. His life will be saved by Yinsen, who in this version is a sorcerer. Yinsen will blow Tony's mind as he will reveal to him the existence of the mystic arts. With Yinsen's sorcery, Tony will be able to build himself his first suit of armor and escape. However, Yinsen ends up sacrificing his own life to save Tony's. After that, Tony will become obsessed with the mystic arts. He will travel to Camartage and meet the Ancient One. Like Doctor Strange, Tony will learn the true nature of magic and begin his training to become a sorcerer. In a short amount of time, Tony will become a powerful magic user. But he won't just become another version of Doctor Strange. That would be pretty boring. While Tony will become a master of the mystic arts, he will still use his tech and armor. It's still Tony Stark we're talking about here after all. Tony Stark is the type of guy that must be prepared for any situation. This is why he created so many suits. Now this is something that could set him apart from other magic users. With the massive threats out there, being able to integrate both magic and tech will allow Tony to become one of the most powerful heroes in the universe. Not to mention the fact that he could use spells to magically infuse his armors to make them pretty much indestructible. He could also always travel the universe to find himself unique metals that he can forge into powerful armors. I'm sure Tony could get his hands on some Uru-metal or whatever metal Thanos' sword is made of. It cut through Captain America's vibranium shield like butter, so now imagine Tony creating an entire armor and weapons from the same metal. And yeah, I realize that this version of Iron Man sounds a lot like Doctor Doom, who also combines science and magic. Ooh, speaking of Doctor Doom, could you imagine a fight between him and a magic-using Tony Stark? The MCU established the idea that magic and science are one and the same.
Your ancestors called it magic, and you call it science. Well, I come from a place where they're one and the same thing.
And because of this fundamental connection between magic and science, Tony Stark will be able to become the most skilled sorcerer ever. Tony possesses extreme determination and brilliance, something that allowed him to create some outstanding tech. He's an inventor who always jumps from one amazing idea to the next, creating groundbreaking technology with every new invention. Now imagine if Tony would have the same mindset with magic. His creativity will open the door for Tony to explore all kinds of spells that no one else would even think of. Tony could find ways to integrate his magic to work simultaneously with his tech, something that'll turn him into one of the most powerful beings in the whole universe. Let's also not forget all the magical artifacts and weapons that Tony could use. For example, the Cloak of Levitation. Sure, he could use his suit to fly, but I'm sure he won't be against using the Cloak of Levitation. The cloak has a mind of its own, so it can be very useful in tough situations. And then there's the Eye of Agamotto, which contains the Time Stone. I'm sure that, like Strange, Tony will add the artifact to his arsenal. And Tony possessing the Time Stone will be major in this version. Now, I have to mention that Marvel Comics also explored the idea of Iron Man becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. But I'm not going to focus on those versions since that stuff happened in the comics, and I'm focusing on a what-if version of Iron Man in the MCU. But if Tony Stark is now the Sorcerer Supreme, what does that mean for Doctor Strange? Well, to keep it simple, let's just say that in this what-if, Stephen Strange never learned about the mystic arts. And I guess we could always go dark and say that he just died in his terrible car crash. Yeah, you know what? Let's just kill him off. That way things won't get confusing. Okay, we don't really need to kill Strange. Maybe instead of dying, he didn't text and drive and instead paid more attention to the road. So Strange didn't crash his car and destroy his hands and kept on living his life carefree of any magical stuff. With Tony becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, his responsibility will be to defend the whole universe. And we all know the thing about great power and responsibility.
With great power comes...
No, this is where you zip it, all right? The adult is talking.
Thing is that Tony is very reactionary. After his near-death experience in 2008, Tony spent a long time trying to atone for his past. But because of his personality, Tony usually makes things worse by trying to make them better. But as a Sorcerer Supreme, Tony might be a bit more impartial and rational. After all, he'll have a grander understanding of the universe, not to mention the ability to see the future with the Time Stone. That being said, let's be honest, we don't love Iron Man because of his cool suits and witty one-liners. Tony Stark is an amazing character because of his flawed personality and complexity. And that is something that will cause fascinating conflicts in Tony's story, especially when the Avengers will assemble. Thor and Hulk are the most powerful members of the original 6 Avengers, but with Tony being the Sorcerer Supreme, that'll change. Just imagine how Tony's fights with his fellow Avengers will go down now that he has magical powers. It's very possible that Tony will become too overbearing with his magical powers. I mean, just look at all the things he's done as Iron Man. He always tried to protect the world, but his obsessions and controlling personality always stood in his way. Now imagine how that will look with him having magical powers.
You don't know what you're talking about. Stark's not crazy.
He will do anything to make things right.
After the Avengers clash with Loki, Tony will become aware of the Infinity Stones, as well as Thanos' plans to collect them. Iron Man became very paranoid after the events of 2012's Avengers, and the same could happen in this version. And this is where the MCU could completely shift. During the Battle of New York, the Time, Space, and Mind Stones were all in the same place. And after the battle, Tony will keep all 3 stones in his possession, protecting them from cosmic threats. With his cosmic awareness, Tony will have a much better understanding of the stones. With the Time Stone, Tony will learn about Thanos and his plan. He will find and collect the other stones and protect them from the Mad Titan. After that, he could also simply take Thanos out before he becomes a problem. I'm not saying we should discount Thanos, but I have a feeling that Tony will be able to best Thanos with his magic, tech, and the power of all 6 Infinity Stones. Such divergence in the MCU will change a lot. For example, Wanda and Pietro Maximoff will never get their powers from the Mind Stone since Loki's scepter will never end up in Hydra's hands. This also means that Vision won't be created. Plus, the events of Infinity War and Endgame will never happen. Since it's unwise to keep all 6 Infinity Stones in one place, Tony could hide them in other universes and dimensions to ensure that no one could ever use the Infinity Stones. But since we're talking about Tony Stark here, it's possible that after beating Thanos and knowing that he stopped a terrible future from happening, he'll let things get to his head. He'll start dealing with other cosmic threats, such as Galactus and Dormammu and others. With his reactionary nature, Tony won't be able to just allow those beings to threaten Earth and the universe without consequences. And with all of his powers, he will believe that it is his responsibility and true calling to bring perfect peace to the universe. Tony could create an army of Ultrons, which will be magically infused robots who will patrol the universe, saving other civilizations from cosmic threats. While this could become a bit dark, at the end of the day, Tony could actually make the universe a much better and safer place.
I have successfully privatized world peace.
Tony could become this super being that attempts to control everything in the universe. Not like some villain, but more like this overprotective hero. With the stones and his magic and technology, Tony will control every aspect of the universe in his endless obsession to make things right and create a safe and peaceful universe. And it can only be a matter of time before Tony attempts to do the same for the entire multiverse. Now this is where the other heroes could come into conflict with Tony. After all, someone like Captain America will have a big issue with Tony being such a dominating, superpowered being.
The price of freedom is high, and it's a price I'm willing to pay.
Captain America and others might feel like Tony is infringing on everyone's freedom. This could lead to massive clashes between the Sorcerer Supreme and the Avengers. But I guess this is a bit too dark and grim. So maybe the Avengers and Pepper will be able to stop Tony before he goes too far. Pepper's love and the Avengers' friendship will give Tony a more optimistic perspective on the universe. It's also possible that Tony will see a version of himself becoming a father in an alternate timeline or universe, and seeing his daughter will be the thing that brings him back down to Earth. And maybe in the end, Tony will retire, allowing someone else to become the Sorcerer Supreme and live his life with Pepper and Morgan. But let's say that everything happened exactly like it did in Endgame. What would that mean for Tony's end in the MCU? If Tony snaps his fingers in Endgame, would he die? With his magical powers and armor, I have a feeling that Tony will survive the devastating energy of the stones. And who knows what would happen with Tony's story after that? The potential is limitless when it comes to Tony Stark being the Sorcerer Supreme. This idea opens the door to so many fascinating stories. So if you want me to do more stuff about this topic, let me know and we'll revisit this what-if story in the future. So what do you think about all this? Do you think Tony Stark will be a good Sorcerer Supreme? What other what-if videos do you want me to make? Let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to CBR for more what-if videos. Thanks for watching.